Hello everyone, welcome to HCA 110, Essentials of Personal Finance for Healthcare Professionals. My name is Chris Gibbons. I'm going to be your instructor for this course. In this video, what I would like to do is a little walkthrough of the course and talk a little bit about some of the assignments and really the roadmap that we'll be following to learn about personal finance. But before we get started, what I would like you to do is to make sure that you have a copy of that syllabus. Make sure you have a printed physical copy of the syllabus. I think it's always a good thing to have that roadmap. You can have it digitally, obviously, but to have that physical copy, I think, helps. So, with that being said, if you haven't printed it out already, please use the link below. You'll find a PDF of the syllabus. Click that and print out the syllabus. If you need to, pause the video to make sure you've got that syllabus all printed out before we get started. All right, well, hopefully you've paused the video, you've come back, and you've got your syllabus in hand. So let's go take a look at that and really see how we're going to tackle this topic of personal finance. First thing I'd like to bring your attention to is how to get a hold of me. You can obviously email me, you can call me on my office number, but many students have found it very convenient, as do I, to text me, especially if you have those short order, quick questions. I can usually get back to you within minutes, if I'm not sleeping or driving or whatnot. But it's definitely a way to get a quicker response than through email or even through the telephone, because I may not be at my desk, but I always have my phone with me and I usually can answer you very quickly with text messages. But if you're not comfortable with that or don't want to do that, that's totally okay. Again, you can always call me or you can use email. If you have a question that might be a little bit longer form question than something suitable for text messages, then you may want to put that in an email. But text messaging is really good for those quick kind of questions that you want to answer to right away. So all kinds of methods to get a hold of me. Find one that works best for you. All right, let's talk a little bit about the course description. I'll read this for you and kind of tell you what it means. So with this course introduces practical applications of personal finance for current and future healthcare professionals. Let's stop there. So some of you are already current healthcare professionals, and maybe you're enhancing your career options by taking another program, getting another degree. Some of you are you're not established healthcare professionals yet, and you are going to be at graduation. Maybe you're going to be a radiologic technologist or a paramedic or a nurse or what have you. But all of you will have that common thread. At some point or now, you'll be a healthcare professional. And you'll be making income. And with that income will come certain planning and obligations that you'll have with your finances. And this course will hopefully give you some ideas to think about that. We're going to talk about subjects like investments, debt, insurance, credit cards. Obviously, we're going to talk about retirement planning. That's a big one for most students. They have a lot of questions about that. Education funding and budgeting will also be discussed. We'll sprinkle some other topics in there as well. So that's kind of the essentials of what will be covered. It will give you a really good foundation of personal finance as you go forward in your profession, and how really important it is to have a basic understanding of what that is. And that's all that most people really need, unless you're high net worth and you make $1 million a year. The fundamentals are what most folks only need. All right, let's talk about the course objectives. So the course objectives, by the end of this course, that's what we mean. By the end of this course, what do we hope that you should be able to do? One is prepare a personal budget. You'll also be able to explain basic investment vehicles and retirement options. You'll know what stocks and bonds are. You'll know what mutual funds. You'll know what a 401k is, a 403b. You'll understand what some of those vehicles are. You'll be able to describe loans, different types of loans out there, and also credit fundamentals. We're also going to look at planning for those major life events. You're in one right now, going back to school. That's a major life event that has a financial component definitely attached to that. We're also going to look at career planning, home ownership, major purchases. So we're going to come up with some ideas about how to plan for those. We're also going to look at the value of personal and professional insurance. And we're going to also hopefully illustrate at the end, put a bow on it, the importance of having a plan. Now, a plan it's a document, not necessarily a rigid document. but it's that aspirational thing. You're going to have ups and downs throughout your life, but as long as you have a plan, you have that guiding principle in making your financial decisions, it can make all the difference in the world. All right, so those are the course objectives. Let's talk a little bit about the required materials. There's only one, and that is the index card book. Great little book. You could probably read it in 4 hours from cover to cover, maybe 5 hours from cover to cover. Very, very quick read, if even that. But what I love about that book is it demystifies all of these financial concepts that a lot of folks are initially intimidated by. Once you realize what they really are, they're not really that intimidating. And the author of that book, his whole philosophy was that everything that you really needed to know about personal finance could be written on an index card, which I believe is true. When I was doing financial advising, my theory was everything could be written on 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but he's actually distilled it down to an index card. And I think you can get those fundamentals somewhere between a sheet of paper and an index card for most folks. So it's kind of demystifying all that and puts it in some really just language that we can all understand. So hopefully you'll like that textbook. Really not a textbook, and hopefully it didn't cost too much either. So it's a pretty inexpensive as far as textbooks required. So there'll be no other materials other than that book, the index card. So hopefully you already have that. If you do not have the book yet, do make sure you go and order it. It's available at all major booksellers, including our college bookstore. But if you haven't, maybe there was a little hiccup, you haven't got it delivered yet, you'll notice that at least in the first couple of parts of the course, I'll have PDFs of those chapter readings because I know some students may not have that book right away. If it continues to be a problem and you haven't gotten the book yet, you've ordered it, there's some issue, let me know, and we'll try to work something out. All right, so that's the only thing you're going to need is that book. So make sure you get that. Of course, this is online delivery. We'll skip all of that part. Let's talk about the grades. You want to know about that. So this course has really some simple components to it. We're going to have discussions, and we're going to have one progress journal. You're going to have 6 of those, and they are 25 points apiece. So you've got that section in there. You're also going to have quizzes, and we're going to have a quiz for every part, and we'll show you what the parts look like. We've divided the content into 15 parts. So kind of little mini chunks. And after every little mini chunk, you'll take a quiz. And then at the end, you're going to make a personal finance declaration. And we'll talk about that more as the course goes along. I'll provide you a template for that. All right, so that really covers what we have in the syllabus. Let's take a look. I mentioned those parts. Let's take a look at the parts of the course and how that works. We'll go to the modules and I'll show you really how we're going to digest this whole topic here. So as you see here, we have always on the top of all of our online courses, we have the Smart Thinking online tutoring. Very interesting, very great resource. Probably not going to need it for this course, but I like to put it in every one of the courses as kind of a front and center reminder that you do have that online tutoring available to you. Okay, so Module 1. This course is divided into 6 modules. Each module has anywhere from 3 to 2 parts. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have 15 parts. So you're going to have a reading and presentations in part 1, and then a quiz. Reading, presentations, quiz. Reading, presentation, quiz. I think you see the pattern there. And then at the end of every module, there'll be either a discussion or you'll have something called a progress journal. And we'll continue that pattern all the way through. Module 2, the same thing. You'll have a part 4 quiz, part 5 quiz, and then so on and so on. At one point in the course in Module 4, I'm going to have you not do a discussion, but you're going to do a progress journal, and a progress journal, which is a great way for us to kind of that learner instructor feedback area where I can learn about some things about you and see maybe what I need to do in this course before the course is over. So we'll have that progress journal in Module 4. And that's the pattern that we're going to have, all the way through the entire course. Within some of the modules, you'll notice that there's going to be sometimes 2 reading assignments. So you'll have a reading assignment from the index card, and then you may have supplemental reading. Let's take a look at that real quick so you know what I'm talking about. Let's pull up, let's try this one, part 10. I think we have, yes, okay, we have some supplemental reading in there. So in part 10, for example, we have our normal index card reading. Well, in this case, we had no readings from the index card, but you might see that there's, 5 to 10 pages from the index card required in a part. Then you'll see this little guy down here holding the big money bag. And that's where you'll have supplemental readings. And there could be up to, 1, 2, or maybe 3 supplemental readings. You do want to make sure that you read those supplemental readings because there are quiz questions that are extracted from those readings. So you're not going to get everything just from the index card. You'll want to do all the readings. Plus, you'll see within the presentations that we have, there might be, and usually is, 1, 2, or 3 questions extracted from the presentations. So you really got to do all of it. You got to watch all the videos, and you've got to do all the readings, including the textbook reading from the index card, to make sure that you've covered all the material for that particular part. Once you've done that, you can take the quiz. The quizzes are all open book, open note, so please utilize that. No problem in that. But you do want to have that material read beforehand because you probably won't have enough time to go through and find the answers without having kind of a basic idea like, oh, okay, here's that concept. Yeah, I remember it was like in the middle of this reading, and then you can find it real quick and find an answer if you don't know it. You may not be able to look up every answer as well. So do make sure that you have those readings done before you attempt the quiz. There will be no midterm and there is no finals. So students really like that. Let's also talk about real quickly the pace of the course and how that's been designed. So with this course, what we're going to do, and let's go back to our modules. What I've done, if you've noticed that there are no closed modules in this course. The entire course, if you can see here, there are no dates. There are due dates. So keep that in mind. When you see dates like the quiz for part 4 is due. Yes, there is sequential due dates throughout the course, but all the modules are open. So what that means is that if you wish, you don't have to, but if you wish, you can work ahead. I've had some students who've completed the course in, 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Again, totally up to you, but you do have to follow that sequentially. So make sure you're doing module 1 first and 2 and so on, and follow the parts all the way, 1 through 15. The other thing that you need to remember too, if you are one of these folks who really likes to work ahead, in the discussions, let's say you've worked ahead and you're a couple weeks ahead of most everybody else. In the discussions, you'll notice that you have to respond back to a couple of your classmates. Well, if you're working ahead, those classmates may not have posted yet. So you got to remember to go back and make sure that you've, when the rest of the group has pretty much done something, that you can respond back to at least those 2 classmates for those discussions. But again, you can always just, check back every couple of days till you see 2 classmates and then reply back to them. You're done. And you can move on with that particular assignment, which would be a discussion assignment. So the pacing is kind of really up to you on that. So I think that kind of lets you control how you do your work. All right. So with that, that pretty much concludes our walkthrough. If you have any questions, remember, how do you get a hold of me? Well, all kinds of ways. You can email me. You can call me or you can text me. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to do that. I really want you to be successful in this course. I want you to get value out of this course. It is something that can echo throughout your entire life. Kind of a big statement there, but it really can. If you learn some things here, let's say I'll pick one off the top of my head. Life insurance. Maybe, yeah, when I was younger, I didn't care. Living forever, don't care. Well, now I care a lot. I have a lot of people that depend on me, and they depend on my income, so I have to make sure that I have life insurance. But let's say you're starting out, you get married, and maybe you've had your first child, but you haven't really addressed your life insurance needs. Or your spouse and partner hasn't addressed those life insurance needs, and something terrible happens. Having an awareness of something even like life insurance can be such a monumental importance to your survivors at that point. So, and making a very difficult time less difficult if they don't necessarily have to worry about some of the financial losses associated with the loss of a loved one. So, kind of bringing those concepts back to mind, and as you look and go through your life, no one's perfect. I'll talk about some of the mistakes I've made. I love doing that throughout the course. No one's perfect. But if you have sort of those aspirational goals and you kind of understand the principles, it can help you make better decisions along the way that shift the balance in your favor. All right, well, that concludes the walkthrough for our course. Again, looking very forward to learning with you over the next few weeks. Thanks.